Hey guys, welcome to Laymen's Terms Podcast, the place where we talk about really big topics using the smallest words possible. I'm Danny the bartender.
And I'm Tommy the trash man.
And together we're just two guys trying to explain the ever-changing world around us the only way that we know how. And today is Fuck It Friday.
Friday.
Yeah, we like to do a little Fuck It Friday around here. So we've been dealing with some censorship issues. I believe Tommy tried to post a video that apparently they thought I was too, my sex appeal was oozing through because it was too, what was it, Tom? What they do it for?
I don't know. It was some like sexual innuendo or something. I don't fucking know. And the craziest thing is, you know, for everybody that listened to the last podcast from last week, it was basically, here we go. Your post goes against our community standards on adult sexual exploitation. Now, listen, it was pretty much the beginning of the episode where, you know, we were just talking about, I was like, so aliens exist. They're fucking out there. And then I was told the story about, you know, the things I wanted to be when I grew up and how I became, then I turned out to be a trash man. So it was, 2 minutes or so of the clip. I posted it, and then I get this notification, and then I tried, I'm clicking on these notifications, and it kept logging me out. And I'm like, well, what the fuck's going on here? Like, I had no idea what to do.
Well, it's probably with all the new, like, honestly, I don't even know how to speak anymore. So I don't know what words are good and bad. So we probably used a pronoun or something that we didn't know that or an adjective or something that apparently offended people in the new world order.
That, or there was just too much sex appeal going on here, like you were saying. Your hair was flowing somehow.
Yeah, they took one look and they were like, "Man, these guys are I can't let the world see this.
Yeah, this is too much.
Shut it down.
Shut it down." Yes. Speaking of shutting shit down.
Yes. More shutting down.
Tom Cruise is shutting down his fucking the set on Mission Impossible 7. I don't know if anybody heard the clip, but he was like, "Show me your mask. Show me the mask."
Well, I do like his style because I liked how he was like, he's going to get fired. You're going to get him fired. So thanks to him, you lost your job.
Yeah. Like he was like, I'm sorry, but I'm not apologizing for this. Okay. And then he kind of like kept saying the same shit over and over again. So it was almost like he didn't know what to say anymore, but he was still super fucking angry. So he would just be like, "So do you hear me? Are you listening to how serious and how important this is? People are losing their jobs."
Well, dude, in a what I was also thinking when I was listening to it was, this is what's going on with coronavirus that I think is the part that people don't understand is it seems to me like all these people act like they care. Everybody acts like they care, but I experienced it at my job too, where we're getting into this phase of it where it's like there's a pandemic coming through that people can't avoid. Now, believe it, don't believe it, that's on you. But at the same time, it seems like the people that are virtue signaling it and shit, when it really comes home, it starts to look like that anyone who gets it is bad, and people are more scared of losing. Like, he doesn't sound like he's scared of the virus. He sounds like he's scared that they're going to have to shut the movie down for another 2 weeks and the process of it.
Right.
Right. You know what I mean? Nobody's scared of the virus anymore. They're scared of the damage of just having to be registered as someone who got COVID.
Well, as someone that I've mentioned on the show before, I don't care if you wear your mask, if you don't wear your mask. I actually, like I said before, I have more respect for people that don't wear a mask as opposed to the one motherfuckers wearing it around their neck or on their fucking chin like fucking retards. Oh shit, that might get us fucking censored. Sorry about that, guys. Didn't mean the R word. But anyway, so my thing is, strangely I kind of agree with him. Only because, like, from his perspective, when he was like, your people have to put food on the table. You're taking away people's jobs. They have to pay. People have to pay college education. So from that point, I understand, and I actually agree with him that, listen, if these are the rules that are put forth to keep this movie going, to keep, people employed, we have to, adhere to these rules. So from that standpoint, I agree with him 100%.
Well, I would say it's all in context. So it's like, was somebody like fucking eating lunch and pulled their mask down and was eating, or were there some dick bags on? Like, it's only audio, so you don't know.
Right.
But I think and then going what I said, it doesn't sound like he's scared of the virus. He's scared of people breaking the rules. And so if he's fucking a hypochondriac about it, maybe he is overreacting. But if people are being reckless on set and the fucking health inspector is on their way, that's a different story, Yeah,
and I don't really know all the details. From what I heard, there was a few different situations where I guess, he maybe addressed them, and then people just kind of, it's natural. People kind of get, especially in those settings, in work settings, you get comfortable. I mean, my boss has told us about wearing masks, but there's times where we kind of just don't have it on or whatever,
Well, if you think about this is the thing that's making coronavirus a real fucked up thing for business. If someone at my job gets coronavirus, even though we're not open at all right now, so it doesn't fucking matter. But if someone gets it somewhere, if someone that worked with you gets it when they're at home, and you get that phone call, and this is what I mean, where it's becoming, where it's like, you don't want to answer the phone call. You know what I mean? Because what happens is you might not even have it, but it's your duty to tell your boss that you have it. And then just because you had it and someone else had it, or, that you've been in contact with somebody, you have to shut down for 2 weeks, So basically my boss sat us down and gave us a talking to, not that bad. I mean, that would be out of control. But the talk was more about losing money than people being sick, Right. And so I think that when you were saying, maybe he's not wrong, you got to think, though, if a movie gets shut down for 2 weeks, that is insane. They probably lose millions of dollars in the process. If you got $100 million movie and you book the location for 2 weeks, you're going to have to rebook the location. You're going to take everything down and shit like that. So he wouldn't be wrong, but that's where this stuff's getting weird, is they're wrapping us up in these restrictions and these fears of being allowed to stay open or, getting shut down or whatever. And that's what's killing people right now, because if you own a business, you're becoming more wrapped up with, I need to keep my business open, Yeah.
Yeah. And the craziest thing to me was, after I heard this rant, I was like, I wonder what Tom Cruise is politically, if he's a Republican or Democrat, because if you think about it, I don't know the numbers on this, but I would think that most Catholics or Christians would be conservative or Republicans. Would you say?
Devout.
Devout, yeah. So
people that literally are I pray every night when I go home, they're probably conservatives.
Right. That's what I was thinking. So I'm thinking, well, as a Scientologist, he's definitely a devout Scientologist. So does he lean more conservative? How do aliens view politics?
He definitely sounded like a liberal.
You think so?
Angry and triggered.
Well, he did, but he was following the rules, which is, hey, look, we're gonna play by the rules here. So, that's a little bit more on the conservative side, I would think. There's rules and regulations that we need to follow. I would think that if he was more liberal with it, like he'd be like, okay, you don't have to wear your mask today. That's fine. Don't worry about it.
Well, it depends on who he's talking. If it was like 3 40-year-old white guys, then he's liberal. But I don't. If it was like 3 19-year-old minority females, transgender, he would be definitely considered a conservative.
And again, so I just even wonder if politics even come into his world. You know what I mean?
But let's be honest though, for real. Like I would say he's a party of one. Like I would say Tom Cruise is in a weird bubble of his own. He's just Tom Cruise. I mean, I honestly wouldn't know where he would stand. By his movie characters, I would say he's a Trump fan.
I wonder if he's just like, I am a fucking god. I am a movie fucking god.
Dude, this is what I will say too. I'm pretty sure I heard him say he's trying to save the movie industry. Did you not scream something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that was a little, whoa, hey. But I've also heard, which would make sense. I've heard a rumor, like from no one that's important, like maybe just seen a comment, but this is the day and age we're living in, is now Tom Cruise has a movie being made. So some people are saying that was all bullshit. So, and I've heard that a lot of them things you hear, those fake things are bullshit. It's a sneaky way to get someone talking about your movie.
Right.
Which would be genius. In that case, the whole, like if he got done that, was like, I'm really sorry, guys. Thank you very much for participating. You know what I mean?
Well, his rant, it kind of reminded me, because it was a little bit muffled, so I thought of like Bane. And I actually posted a picture on Facebook, the picture of Bane and his mask, and then Tom Cruise and his mask, and I was like, who wore it better? But then I also, what the hell was I, with, shit. Oh, his character from Tropic Thunder. Do you remember?
Yeah.
It reminds me of the agent, where he was like fucking balls to the wall, like, I will fucking rain down the living hell on you. I will fucking kill you. Like when he's talking to the terrorists.
Do you know who that is supposed to be?
No.
Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently, like that's like, because you know how Lorne Michaels was the basis for the whatever the fucking Dr. Evil.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So in the same way that Lorne Michaels was that character, and everyone outside of just regular fans, like, all the famous people, it was funnier to them because they knew it was Lorne Michaels. That basically everybody thinks that Harvey Weinstein's a piece of crap.
Right. And
that's kind of who they emulated. And so it was like so much funnier to all those people on the crew.
Yeah. So, and we mentioned it, I think we talked about it on the last podcast, right?
But that would be, somebody should, that would be great, dude. And yes, I think we did talk about it because Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah. And I actually said, I said Robert De Niro. I meant Robert Downey Jr. But Tom Cruise played like this insane agent in that movie, and it made me think of, with this rant, I thought of that character.
What was his thing? What was his thing he would say? He had a thing. It doesn't matter. But that character was amazing. I remember going to the movies and seeing that. And once you saw Tom Cruise, you were like, are you kidding me? And then at the end of the movie, Tom Cruise dances the whole time as that character. You remember that?
Oh, yeah. Because for anybody that we mentioned it, the movie is fantastic. So we're going to plug this movie again.
Yeah.
And also Tom Cruise's character, first of all, most people, I would imagine, know what Tom Cruise looks like. In this movie, he's bald. He's
fat and bald.
Yes, he doesn't look like Tom Cruise at all.
Yeah.
So it's funny, seeing him dance and all at the end. Yeah.
I would but I would love just to know that he was dressed as that character when he was giving that little speech to the crew.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and dude, I mean, it's not that far fetched to like see this happen. You know, I mean, Tom Cruise fucking scales buildings in Dubai, does all his own stunts, was hanging from a plane in one of the Mission Impossible movies. So it's not. I would imagine this dude's kind of crazy.
Well, yeah, but you also got to give it to people like Tom Cruise, and well, of course you do. I mean, because he's super famous and rich. But I've heard things like he's super competitive. Like that is the one thing. Whenever like me and you have talked about acting and stuff like that before, and it's like that's the one element that I guess those like action hero dudes have and stuff. Where like Robert De Niro when he did the boxing movie. I forget the name right now.
Raging Bull.
Yeah, yeah, Raging Bull.
Yeah.
Like basically, he became a boxer for like a year. Like
Yeah.
like boxers still talk about how they think Robert De Niro could have had a crew. Now you never know. You never know how much of that's true, but he did it. You know what I mean? And like you look at Mickey Rourke. That's what happened with Mickey Rourke. Like Mickey Rourke made some boxing movie in the same way like Robert De Niro did, and he just got so connected to it that he actually left acting and went and became a boxer.
Right.
And so Tom Cruise is the kind of guy they say where like if he shows up to the set of a movie where he's going to be X, Y, or Z, like next thing you like, it's like Mission Impossible when he was like rock climbing and shit, like you said. Like he didn't have to actually do that shit, but he does, and he'll devote all this time to like learning how to rock climb and shit. And that's the kind of shit where I'd be like, just green screen me, man. I'll just fucking hang here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, dude, he's definitely super intense. So yeah, so there was that going on.
What you were saying, dude, I just watched here's what I'm getting scared of with COVID. I don't remember how even on the last one I said to you, like, we're closed down for 6 weeks or whatever, but I think people should be had enough of this shit,
Mm.
But then I also said to you, especially me living in, like, I think right now, if you look at Florida, like the governor of Florida literally just said, if any of you local governments, like maybe a city, maybe a place like Palm Beach, because they might still be Democrat, they're saying like, we're going to close all the bars. And the governor just said, if anyone tries to shut down a business, I will be their obstacle. So in a place like Florida, Texas, or something like that, like this stuff has already played out. Like they know they can't keep telling. So they just stopped listening to, I guess, because they don't really have to listen to anybody, but it just seems like Democrats are going to do Democrat stuff and Republicans are eventually just going to do it the Republican way. And we shut down again for 6 weeks. But so I keep assuming that there's no reason for anybody to get mad because, there's not going to be too many more shutdowns left. We're going to have to be good to go by like spring, you know what I mean? Or whatever. Well, I'm watching this fucking thing with Bill Gates and Jake Tapper doing an interview. And Bill Gates was like, unfortunately, bars and restaurants are going to have to stay closed down for another 6 months, maybe 4 to 6 months. And then he gets into this word that scared the shit out of me. They said, well, when should we stop wearing the mask? Like after the vaccines? And he says, well, unfortunately, I really think we're going to have to wear the mask until early 2022 because even with vaccines, we're going to have risk of reinteraction, right? So when I heard that word, I thought, okay, we were closed for 2 weeks because they said, guys, just go home for 2 weeks. Before you knew it, when you got home, it was flatten the curve. When you got home, flatten the curve became 3 to 4 months. Then when you were in the 3 to 4 month period, like in August or whatever, they didn't even like tell you. It was like you just kept thinking, all right, it was 2 weeks. Oh shit, now it's 3 to 4 months. Then it was, wait for a vaccine. And it was like, what? Wait for a vaccine? Now the vaccine's here, and it's like, well, we got to wait for the vaccine to get administered. And now I'm thinking everything's going to be honky-dory because the vaccine's going to be here and so on and so forth. And now you got Bill Gates talking about wearing masks till 2022 and the risk of introduction. And then they just had Sanjay Gupta talking on CNN about how don't think just because you get the vaccine or whatever that you should be flying anywhere or going anywhere. So this is getting ridiculous, dude.
Well, it is. And unfortunately, this is why I think most people are just going crazy. And I don't think that people, it's not that they don't want to take it seriously. It's just that they don't take the information that they're receiving any more seriously. You know, because right from the get-go, like you said, it was like, all right, all the information they were getting right from the jump was kind of false. Now, again, I understand that, you know, with the whole, we don't need a mask, you don't need to wear a mask. To an extent, I understand why they had to say that, so people didn't run out and load up and hoard masks, and they need it for doctors and frontline workers. To an extent, I get it. But there still is a level of deception there from your government. So from all those up until it was like, all right, you know, stand 6 feet apart, social distance, flatten the curve, we're going to shut down for 2 weeks, all these different things. Trump was saying certain things about, you know, we'd like to have a vaccine, you know, as soon as possible. So he Operation Warp Speed, every single person on the left, for the most part, and including people like Bill Gates, were saying there's no way, he's unhinged, he has no idea what he's talking about, we won't have a vaccination at least for another 2 years, all of these things. People from CNN, MSNBC, openly tweeting and mocking him about having a vaccination. And by the end of the year, we have it here. So it's been 8 months and people were telling him he was delusional. There's no way it's happening. Now he's not, first of all, the dude's not getting any credit for it. But I'm still at a point where I don't necessarily know that I trust it. I mean, we talked about, you know, we mentioned some of the videos that are kind of floating around. The one video where they're saying the person that's getting the shot, it looks like it's an empty syringe. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of tough to really tell. But then
I did see one that, well, listen, I saw, I don't, to be honest with you, the only reason why I feel weird even talking, because I really don't, it doesn't matter. I don't know why they would be faking it, but I would, like, in other words, I've seen the ones that are fake, and the one I saw was fake. The person did not put the needle. What they did was the girl puts the needle in the arm.
Yeah.
And when she pulls it out, you can tell that she's holding the needle with the back of her hand. And when she pulls the needle out, there's no fucking needle in it anymore. So she must have squeezed too hard on like where she was just holding the needle. Either way, personally, all those videos, I don't think that the fact that people aren't really getting them mean anything. Like that means that the vaccine's scary, because I think it's just a situation of like, all right, let's film someone getting a vaccine and people are going to, you know, maybe the girl just got it already. So they just, we'll do it again. Let's do another shot of it or something. But
well, all the theatrics that are going along with this, like, you know, they're actually taking videos of Mike Pence and all taking the shot. And then you saw a nurse that took the shot who eventually passed the hell out. The reason why I think they're doing this, and I think it's pretty common sense, is because of the distrust that over the past few months has just grown with the media, from the American public to the media. I mean, like I said, right from the get-go, we were kind of lied to, and they've just been tossing shit out there, and they really have no idea.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like, even the fucking media, even though they're not telling you that's why, it's like we don't trust the fucking media anymore. So they need to fucking give somebody a vaccine live for us to understand.
Right. So now, so unfortunately, now as like, you know, as a natural skeptic like I am, I'm watching it and I'm like, well, what the fuck? How the fuck do I know what's in that syringe? It could be fucking water. You know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah,
have
like,
no.
well, that's what I'm saying is like, see, for me, I guess, a natural skeptic too, in a sense, where I don't really think that they're trying to fucking make you. I don't think that the purpose is of anything other than to just show you someone getting a shot. I don't think, like, it would make no sense to me that, like, they're going to give somebody a fake needle. They could give her a fucking flu shot. You know what I mean?
Right.
They could give her anything. But you said something that I didn't think about, that now going back, when you were saying about like Trump not getting credit or whatever, and them saying whatever, let's forget the Trump part of it. And you brought up a great point. And the point is this: it's not to say that they were wrong about Trump or something, but what it's more about is they have been wrong so many times. Like, they were wrong about hydroxychloroquine. That's been debunked, or whatever the hell that woman said. But you know what I'm saying? Like, that the hydroxychloroquine is actually what they use now on people. Fucking Trump's vaccine came out. So at this point, it's not to prove Trump right, but I think even someone who hates Trump is like, what's right? Like, at this point, it's grown into this thing of like, the media clearly has shown us that they don't know anything either, period.
Well, right. Even with the hydroxychloroquine, it's not a vaccine. It's not a cure necessarily, but it can help with, I guess, certain symptoms and whatnot. I still it's still a little bit murky. Like when you talk, that's like murky waters when you're talking about that.
But it's murky. Here's the thing: it's in mainstream media now. Someone just put an article out recently that said that they think the media has done a massive crime against humanity because hydroxychloroquine is actually now proven and used, where they said that it became censored and it became shunned to the point where you weren't allowed to do it in mainstream science. So basically someone said that the media basically caused something that could have saved a lot of people's lives. That's it's only murky because if your friend didn't read that article, you know what I'm saying? It's only
Right.
murky because they remember 6 months ago when it was the worst thing in the world. And why would the media ever lie to you, you know?
Well, my thing, even with that, because there are still doctors and columnists, reporters that have written articles about banning it completely and not even covering it. But my thing is, it's like, wait a minute, because they talk about how it's not safe, and I'm like, wait a minute, this has been used since the 60s for malaria, for lupus, for a few different medical conditions. So with, just like they said about this vaccine that I heard on the news today, that the reward of the vaccine is greater than the risks. So with any medication you take, obviously certain people are going to have side effects. I mean, so that's another thing with the whole vaccine thing. I mean, even with the video of the woman that passed out, I'm not even necessarily saying that it's not real and it's not proven. I'm not trying to sound like some crazy conspiracy theorist.
Well, we don't know why she passed out either.
Exactly. Like, I mean, I'm sure
some people are just like that. And then this bitch, she's not a TV personality. She gets a shot in the arm, and then she's fucking on live TV next minute. She could have just fainted for being camera shot.
Nervous. Yeah. So yeah,
but I don't like, didn't we talk about this, Tom? I don't like the fact that we have to get I'm telling you something right now. I was like, I'll get the vaccine. I don't really care. And now all of a sudden I care a little bit, and it's a little bit of distrust because you're telling me I have to get it. And then it's a little bit of like, fuck you. Who are you to tell me I have to get a vaccine?
Yeah.
But that is the one thing that turns me off of it, is like, they're saying things like you can't fly. Some job, like my job, might decide to tell me, and I would imagine all jobs will. So basically you're going to go to your job. Like, your job's going to probably tell you have to get it. You know what I mean? In order to work there. And it becomes weird. that's going to make people skeptical, you know?
Well, yeah, and the strange thing, because I think it is Florida where DeSantis mentioned that he's not going to make it mandatory in Florida.
Dude, I want to live in Florida again.
Yeah,
This
and
this
and, and
guy's for the man.
and here's another crazy thing that I heard about with Gavin Newsom out in California. We talked about it a little bit last week about the crazy lockdowns that are going on now. Now they're talking about, I don't know how this works, but they're trying to have a recall on his election.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't, and
so
they,
I don't know how that works, but apparently if they have enough signatures from citizens, then somehow I guess they can go through the court systems to have them removed. I don't really know. But I
but
also
I
heard,
think it's impeaching him. They're trying to do that to Whitmer too. Like if you get enough people together for any reason, you can force someone to resign. You know what I mean? But the thing that is weird about Newsom's is they actually use the word recall, which they want to recall him. I don't know what that, I've
yeah,
never seen that term in politics. Like,
I don't know. But
yeah,
I also heard that, so I didn't know he has a winery out in California. And guess what didn't get shut down? And
his
guess what?
winery.
And guess what actually qualified for some government stimulus money? His winery. I'm
Dude,
like, oh, I see how that works.
well, here's another thing too. When I was thinking about Newsom, right? I'm looking at him and I'm really thinking, like, what is he? Is he a mayor or governor?
He's the governor of California.
Okay. So I'm thinking in my head, for real. I understand why, I really do. Like, I understand why Trump or why, say, Arnold Schwarzenegger or Al Franken or somebody that or Jesse Ventura. I understand why some of those guys have gone into politics where it wasn't about money, it wasn't about whatever. But looking at the way Newsom's being and stuff, and I started to look at him and think, like, why does this guy want to be in politics? And then I really thought in my head, like, it's about power, dude. It's about power 100%. You know what I mean?
Of
Like,
course.
the only reason why someone like Newsom, who you can see right now, is not really good at it, it's like he wanted something other than actually helping people. There's no fucking way in hell that the way that guy's acting, his basis for being in politics was because he cared about people or something. Impossible.
I don't know. I mean, but I
I
don't
don't
really
have a lot of
know.
information on that either, but that's what he looks like in the face.
Yeah. He's got that jerk off looking face.
Yeah, he's got that I didn't come here to help anybody face.
He's got that pompous looking face,
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I can't really speculate on that, but I agree wholeheartedly that it's absolutely about power. I mean, I feel that way with a lot of politicians. I'm sure that some of them go into it with grand ideas of changing the world, but I think that the system itself is kind of so screwed up that once you get involved in the way that you have to play the game, that just kind of goes by the wayside.
Well, I think one good thing that might have came out of the whole progression of the Donald Trump politics, and now we're in this COVID politics, I think there's like a double-edged sword for politicians there, because it was such a show for this guy that everybody became aware. We became aware of shit. Like, regular people were finding out, like, dude, ever since Donald Trump went into office, all of a sudden I knew probably like 75% of the people in the Senate. Like, they became like sports figures or something, or like actors. And it was like, you started to, every time he got into some interaction with somebody, you knew who they were. They became like wrestlers. You know what I mean? It was like, right. What team are they on? Oh, they're with this team and that team. And I think now, going into COVID and the way everybody's acting, I think that there was so much spotlight on them, and now they've brought the spotlight on them even deeper, and people are a little bit more aware of politics, politicians, what their jobs are, shit like that. You know what I mean? Like in other words, everybody became so like, how do we get Trump out of office, and how can he? And we're following hearings and learning laws and learning how shit goes. And now all of a sudden they're like, I'm gonna recall this dude's election. You know what I mean? So I do think that as long as we make it out of this, as long as we didn't hurt ourselves too bad during this COVID kind of thing, that when the dust settles, dude, people are going to want more out of their politicians. Like I think it's going to, a lot of these politicians who have been sitting in office doing nothing and people weren't really concerned about it are now going to start fucking, picking these other candidates. Does that make sense?
No, it does. I don't think it's going to happen. I think, unfortunately, because I agree, like, I think that that should be the case. Unfortunately, like, because a lot of times the things that I post on social media, I've never been a political guy. Like, I've always kind of been very skeptical of politicians in general. So to me, I've said that ever since this election, with Trump, and when Bernie got kind of screwed over, I did have a change of faith, and I did start to lean more right, more conservative. Oh, damn, I just dropped
Dude,
my fucking just dropped my fucking
I thought something blew up. I thought you were, dude, wait till you see that in the clip. It looks like
Oh yeah.
I'm not kidding, dude. It looked like, I thought you got shot or something.
Yeah, no, my light dropped off. But so, like I was saying, I definitely had a change of heart. I definitely started to see things differently. But I think people are so entrenched in their ideas and in their tribes, whether they're Republicans or Democrats, that they're just gonna, God damn it, this goddamn light.
It looks like a gunshot.
Yeah, well, now I don't know what's going on with this fucking light, but we're just gonna leave it there. And now the YouTube viewers are gonna be like, "Oh, this sucks." But anyway, like I was saying, I think that too many people are way too entrenched in their ideas as far as, Republicans and Democrats. And as long as, they kind of keep marching to that beat and kind of going, identity politics and climate change, they're not going to give a shit that their politicians aren't really working for them. I mean, there's one guy that I listen to a lot, this guy Jimmy Dory. I sent you a video the other day. He calls out pretty much everybody. He's pretty intense. And, he is really going after, especially the progressives as of late, because he's like, look, for all you people out there voting for these people, they're not doing dick for you. These stimulus packages are going, all this money is going to the super wealthy people. And that's what they're fighting against. They're laughing in your face. But people don't care because they'll get on TV and they'll use the correct words. They'll speak their lingo and talk about sexism, racism, and all that bullshit. And they'll be like, yep, they're back. They're back in that zombie mode and just shaking their heads. Yes, you got our vote.
Well, I definitely agree with you there. But I guess what I meant more was, don't be surprised if like Gavin Newsom loses his job, but to someone else just as bad as him. But you know what I'm saying? Like there's going to be some politicians that, like, in other words, even Democrats right now at this point, like my girlfriend was sticking up for Nancy Pelosi 6 months ago with the relief bill. Now
right.
She sees Nancy Pelosi's a piece of shit. So I guess what I'm saying is Nancy Pelosi won't be replaced by some conservative, you know what I mean? But don't be surprised if Nancy Pelosi gets stripped of a few duties when, next time around or something. But another thing though, too, now that we're on, I wasn't going to bring this part up, but if you haven't seen this, it's just proof of how the hypocrisy works. Are you familiar with what's going on with Eric Swalwell right now, or Swalwell?
I am. He was involved with a Chinese spy. It was an intern or something that he met, and he wound up banging her, and
Well,
you
look, put
know.
it this way. It's so much more than that in the sense of this woman infiltrated his camp. Like, I don't want to get too deep on it. I just want to keep on the surface of it. But this is the thing. It's way deeper than that. This woman infiltrated his campaign. Then what she did was they sent her in as a spy. She went into started to join left wing groups she went to college in California, joined a bunch of left wing groups, became very active in meeting politicians. So she fucked way more guys than Swalwell. She latched on to Swalwell, dealt with him for a few years, and then she was what they call a bundler for his campaign. So she basically was responsible for getting a lot of money to him and then did the same thing for other people. But either way, when we're talking about the media and all lying to you and shit like that, it's like, the FBI actually came and briefed this guy in 2015. Nancy Pelosi and all them knew it, yet they put this man on the House Intelligence Committee. Turns out Dianne Feinstein had a fucking spy working with her for 20 years. They found that out too. And all of a sudden she became senile and they took her off of, she stepped down. I don't know if you know that. But either way, what I'm trying to say is the media won't even bother to cover that because it's a Democrat issue. That's disgusting. It's disgusting.
Well, yeah, it's the same thing with Cuomo. Apparently, there's some sexual assault allegations against Cuomo not being talked about. It's not being addressed.
Well, this is the thing that I think is funny, though, is not only have I lost faith in the media, but if you look at all these people that are like I have no faith in. I'm starting to realize that I think that awards and stuff are like things that they give people as a reward, and also a thing that stops you from kind of condemning them. Like, Cuomo has been horrible throughout this pandemic. Most he's been the worst governor for what he's done in New York, I guess. I mean, I don't really know, but that's what everybody says. But most other people know is that he just got an Emmy award. You know what I mean? So he gets an Emmy. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris haven't done anything yet. They're people of the year. I'm just finding this weird kind of like operation going on in the media where it's like they put their stamp on people, and I don't know. Like, I want the information. I want to know the truth. I don't care about party. I don't care about whatever. I want to know what the fuck's going on.
Well, yeah, and that was when Kamala and Biden, they got Times Person of the Year. I was like, dude, it's a little bit strange that they, of all people, they're not in office yet. What the fuck do we know if they're going to be successful in anything? So what did they do that was so fantastic?
Well, this is and so here's my argument to that too. Like, it sounds like I'm saying, all right, the guy won the election or whatever, so fine, you want him but like, even though I don't care for the guy, but like make Fauci Times Man of the Year. You know what I mean? Like, he literally is someone who came out of nowhere and he became America's like fucking doctor. You know what I mean?
Right. So, he's absolutely been more important.
Way more important. He's still going to be important moving forward. If you remember, if you think COVID in 20 years, you're going to remember Fauci. Right. You might forget Biden. You probably won't remember Trump, or you will. But I mean, Fauci should be Times Man of the Year.
No, I agree. I mean, there's a long list of people that you can go on and say, well, they deserve. I mean, just how about if you're going to make it more than one person, how about just say the American people deserve to be the fucking
That'd be a good one.
for everything that we fucking dealt with. And for the most part, I mean, I think that people are handling it, I guess, pretty well. I mean, I don't know, as good as to be expected. You know what I'm saying?
It's weird how quickly we can adapt to things. And it's actually scary because I don't know how much has changed and I don't know how much more can change. And if we just keep doing it incrementally, I won't, like there's a lot of theories about what's going on right now and I don't really buy into them, but it's getting to a point where I don't know how to not buy into them. You know what I mean? Like this is getting weird. Like,
yeah, and I don't know if I feel like I may have said this in one of the other podcasts, when people get so upset about, whether you call them Republicans, Democrats, if you try and bash their party or whatever. And my thing is, I talked about, or like I said, I think I talked about it. Guy Fieri raised $21 million to donate to the bar and restaurant industry. He's famous, but he's just a regular person in the country. He's not a fucking politician. It's not his job to do that. If you want to say the government, because they've caused these shutdowns, they should be the ones that are reimbursing American businesses, American people, businesses. And now Dave Portnoy is coming out, selling shirts, raising money, again, in support of small businesses, restaurants, all that stuff. And I'm like, this just proves more that people should have more faith in people in general, and you know what I'm saying? Like in the private sector than you should put into your elected officials, because we're doing more. Dave Portnoy and Guy Fieri has done more for small businesses than the government has in the past 8 months.
Well, but I also think, again, that's part of the polarization of, it's like the left theory is like big business is bad. You know what I mean? Like businessmen they don't want to pay their employees. They don't care about anybody but themselves. They need to be told what to do or else they're going to become Lex Luthors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what I'm starting to see is the only business that you need to be afraid of is the ones that the politicians are involved in. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like it's the energy companies that are giving money to people's campaigns and shit like that. It's not like Cheesecake Factory. You know what I mean? Like, to say a big one.
Right.
I mean, like, I don't know how people really think of small businesses, but I think that on paper, they don't talk about, like, Portnoy is a big business, a huge business. But to me, he is kind of like a regular guy kind of business. His money is coming from regular people. It's Barstool Sports or whatever. And then Guy Fieri the same way. Like, he definitely worked his way up in restaurants, so he understands it. But I feel like they have made the word business bad in a way where it's like, oh, no guy who owns – anybody who owns a business is wealthy and they're just bad people and you can't trust what they're going to do with their money. And like you said, clearly that's not the case.
Well, the left in particular has just made millionaires out to be evil people. And, the politicians are the virtuous ones, you know what I'm saying? But even, and even Hollywood, think about most movies, you know what I mean? Like, there's usually the evil business, the evil corruption, in some big corporation, the evil millionaire. They're always the villain. You know what I mean?
Well, it's funny you're saying this because I was having this conversation about Donald Trump the other day. And because my brother was bringing up a point of, like, when you see movies and the CIA and the FBI and whatever, and they fuck you over and you see like some guy who like can't even trust like the police or whatever.
Mhm.
It's whenever you watch a movie, that movie didn't come out of thin air.
Right. Right.
Those little elements of like can't trust the police. I'm not saying you can't trust the police or you can't trust the FBI or whatever, but what I'm saying is that has happened to people, and it's scary, and it's so scary that a lot of movies have that base. But then I was also thinking of another thing that's very popular in movies. When you look at Shrek, Beauty and the Beast, just any Disney movie where Prince Charming is the guy that everybody loves in town because he's so handsome and he can sing and he can dance and whatever else, but he's the evil guy. And the Beast, the guy that they want you living in the towers, you come down and eat everybody, or
Right.
he's a big monster, he's actually the good guy, And I think that though that story is so old and it's stayed for because it's not just Shrek is Beauty and the Beast, it's all that same story just kind of developed over years, but that story has stayed around by generations and generations because there's truth to it. There's truth to, we all understand what it feels like to be the guy who's treated like, or at least some of us do anyway, who's treated like the monster when really deep down, that you're the good guy and that they shouldn't trust this other person, but that other person has them so wrapped up. So I think that's another, movie thing that if that makes sense, Tom, do you think did you get what I was saying, or did I lose you?
No, absolutely. No, I do. And again, I think Hollywood left, they've always just had this dynamic or elements always kind of like make out there has to be a villain, you know what I mean? But it actually, when we were talking about like a distrust for government and we've talked about it on this podcast multiple times. My thing is basically, I have a distrust of people in many ways. We have to understand where that comes from. You know what I'm saying? Like there's all throughout history, we've talked about this multiple times. All throughout history, people have done fucked up shit. You know what I'm saying? So like people in general, like, yes, of course you have great people that do wonderful things, but you have a lot of people that do shitty things. So here's just one thing that we're gonna do a little story time. My fucking light again. God damn it. There goes that $100, not well
Why
spent.
Why does it keep falling?
Because the sticky piece on the back of it is just fucked up. So there goes $100 I just wasted on that. And I keep saying motherfucker. The book is called Everything is Fucked, which is,
Yeah, that light's fucked.
Everything is Fucked, a book about hope. This is by Mark Manson. I highly recommend Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. I'm only about 82 pages through this, but I highlighted this because I was like, oh, this is a great little piece right here that I wanted to read. Every institution will decay and corrupt itself. Each person, given more power and fewer restraints, will predictably bend that power to suit himself. Every individual blind herself to her own flaws while seeking out the glaring flaws of others. Welcome to Earth. Enjoy your stay. Our feeling brains warp reality in such a way so that we believe that our problems and pain are somehow special and unique in the world, despite all evidence to the contrary. Human beings require this level of this built-in narcissism because narcissism is our last line of defense against the uncomfortable truth. Because let's be real, people suck, and life is exceedingly difficult and unpredictable. Most of us are winging it as we go, like on layman's terms, if not completely lost. And if we didn't have some false belief in our own superiority or inferiority, a deluded belief that we're extraordinary at something, we'd line up a swan dive off the nearest bridge without a little bit of narcissistic delusion. I'm sorry. Without that perpetual lie we tell ourselves about our specialness, we'd likely give up hope. but our inherent narcissism comes at a cost. Whether you believe you're the best in the world or the worst in the world, one thing is also true. You're separate from the world. And it's this separateness that ultimately perpetuates unnecessary suffering. So I don't know if that made sense to some of the things that we talk about, again, on this podcast is, obviously people get really upset, when we talk about politics and shit like that, which rightfully so. I mean, it could be boring at times. It's certainly not something that I, am an expert on. But the one thing that I have this, like, it's like an intuition in me is just humanity and the way, throughout the years that we've evolved, there's always just been so much tragedy and so much fucking destruction at the hands of human beings. When we kind of break things down into Republicans and Democrats and black and white, we're all the fucking same. We all have flaws. We're all fucking trying to navigate through this fucking world somehow and just find our own way. And in this book, this guy actually talks about, how easy it is to fall in those groups because we are on this crazy fucking trip on this earth. And it's like, oh, okay, you look like me, so you can relate to me. Oh, you fuck the same type of person that I like to fuck. We can be buddies. Oh, you vote the same way that I vote. So we're always searching for some sort of, connection. And in a lot of ways, it's dangerous. I mean, in a lot of ways, it's good because, I mean, that connection and that seeking out, like, that tribal mentality helped us survive years and years ago. You know what I mean? Without it, without a tribe, when you were all alone as a fucking caveman, you wouldn't make it.
Well, I think something cool about what you're saying is like this. Like, if you go back to like I always think of it like Romeo and Juliet, where they have the Montague, whatever the two people are, the Montagues and the whatever. And it's like you said, all throughout history, we had tribes. We have, we seem to separate ourselves into these groups. I think the problem is that, and you see that clearly it's never been solved, but the real way to be human, if you could break it down to the human side of it, is that you should be able to have groups, but not be separated from the other groups. You know what I mean? Like, if you love to play Xbox and, you're going to have friends that love to play Xbox. And if you really love, yoga, you're going to have your friends that you go to yoga with or whatever. But it's this thing of like, oh, that's the people that they do yoga. Like, you're a lefty if you fucking drink a latte and you whatever. So if you start to not experience things that you like because you want to be part of the group you're in now. So, if you're hanging out with a bunch of Trump supporters, you might not want to be standing there with a Starbucks latte, pumpkin spice. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the thing is it's like, why can't we just all accept that? And then maybe it's the element that all throughout time, there was always people, we always were relying on some form of a government, I would say, for most of the civilized world. So it was probably always in someone's best interest to separate us and divide us. You know what I mean? And that's the one thing that I have trouble with is I think the people don't understand how much power they actually have if we just would stop getting in our own way and in each other's way, like
there's got to be a villain in the story. You know what I'm saying? Like, conservatives, the liberals are the villain. And, to liberals, the conservatives are the villain. And that's just the story that you see throughout time. And
maybe in a weird way, maybe as much as I'm saying, that it would be better the other way, maybe like you need the villain. Like, maybe in a weird way, like we need something to wake up and fight against, you know, even if it's just a guy in the office that you can't stand because he's a liberal, you know what I mean? Or vice versa, he's a conservative. But what I'm saying is, like, as much as, you know, we don't even know why we're here. We don't even know what the fuck we're doing here. So having a villain gives you something to latch onto, to be part of a group that's fighting against a villain. You know what I mean? Or a villainous another group of, you know, whatever. And I don't know. I just wish. I mean, you know, I guess, and maybe at the same time too, some people just really have certain thoughts that actually, you know, should be villainized, and you know, so therefore my theory wouldn't work at all, because there's going to be a villain. There's going to be a villain no matter what, you know?
Yeah, man. You know, now that I guess fucking Biden is going to be the fucking president, you know, I listen, I'm not going to be that person that's like, not my president, not my president. I'm not going to play that game. I'm an American. He's the college electoral votes went through, whatever. He's the president. As of right now, as far as we know, he's going to be the president. I hope the guy does well, only because I don't want to see Rome burn. I don't, you know, it's like, it's the complete opposite of Trump. I mean, people wanted to watch him burn and just completely fail to rebuild, to only to get their party elected. And I mean, listen, again, I definitely lean more right nowadays. But I don't want to see Biden fail. I want to see people do well. So we'll see what happens. I mean,
but see, I'll say this though, because I want to agree with you, but does Biden succeeding mean more censorship? Does it mean does it mean a biased media that will never ask him a tough question? Like, I don't want to go into, like, you know what I mean? Like, does Biden succeeding mean, you know, he's going to take this amendment, like, you know, they're going to pack the Supreme Court. Right. Like, I don't want to see that succeeding. And
no, yeah, and I understand what you're saying.
So I'm not saying I would listen. If this was fucking 2008, I wouldn't care.
Right.
But we're in a weird spot right now, and there's a lot of weird stuff going on. And of course, I hope that this is the thing. Like, of course, I hope he succeeds. But so far, what I see from the Democrats is using and abusing the country and this virus to just get more and more power and crush the little guy more and more. So if succeeding is that, then no, I hope he doesn't succeed.
Right.
But at the same time, I think that Biden is, when you say he's the complete opposite of Trump, he's the opposite of Trump. See, I think what we're dealing with here is Beauty and the Beast. I think what we're dealing with here is he's the opposite of Trump, but we've heard the Joe Biden behind the scenes Zoom calls that got leaked. You know what I mean? And so I actually 100% think that we might actually have the Trump that you thought Trump was. I think that guy might be in the office. The guy whose family has been making money selling America off to, you know, oligarchs of other countries. I really think that that's what we got here. And the one thing that I do hope, I hope he succeeds. I hope whatever else, but I hope to God the Republicans put a special counsel on Hunter Biden and they get to the bottom of this Hunter Biden stuff, because it's deep. It's deeper than and it's in the mainstream media now. which is my other fear that I believe, me and you have definitely talked about, but I'm sure it's not a new theory. It's been out there. But I have a feeling that and that's what's scaring me about the Democrats, dude, is that they actually operate like this, where I think they might try and I think they're okay with him getting impeached. I think it's pretty clear that they did shady things with the help of censorship to hide things and cover up things to get Biden. Like, in other words, they clearly don't care if you're a spy. They don't care if you're corrupt. They just care if they're in power. And that's scary. And they acted like Trump was that, and he's not. He wasn't. I don't care what anybody says. They investigated him. And I'm telling you right now, Hunter Biden stuff, I don't think there's any stopping this train. It pretty much looks like he's going to go to jail for real.
I don't see that happening. I'm not saying he's not guilty. I'm just saying he's the president. I don't see that happening.
Well, I don't want to get into it too much, but what I'm saying is, I don't know how much you've been following it, but they've been investigating him since 2018.
Right.
Bill Barr said that he just couldn't say it because wouldn't be right for an election. But if Trump appoints a special counsel like Mueller, it'll be a nonpartisan group where you're going to see 2 years of hearings and whatever else. And you see how Roger Stone and Manafort went to jail for like nothing. Right. In Hunter Biden's case, it's going to be like, the whole thing is they went after Trump on nothing and got people on process crimes. They're going to be going after this guy on real shit. So it all depends on how much the Republicans want to fight it. But like I said, listen, I'm not going to get too into it because I don't know where you're at with it. But this is one case where we'll see, because I think that before Trump's out, and it's not because of Trump, you're going to see there's already subpoenas and stuff in his case. So they moved into prosecution stage on the Hunter Biden laptop issue, which is a huge step.
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, I haven't been following it as much because, like, I'm just trying to,
I hear you.
Just step away from it because it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
I still follow certain people on Instagram and all that stuff, so I do still see some things. But speaking of prison, like, I've just been coming home from work and watching Oz from HBO, and I don't know if people have watched that, but I highly recommend that show. It came out in '97, HBO original, and it's a hell of a show. I'm rewatching it now, and it plays off of the same. Came out in '97. It ran for 6 seasons, and it's playing off of the same shit that we're kind of going through now. You got in prison, you got your Aryans, you got your Italians, your Mexicans, your Muslims, regular black guys, and they're all talking about the same shit that we're talking about now.
Isn't that weird? It's
so I'm like, you would think that some things would change, but it doesn't. It doesn't. And to be completely honest with you, there was one scene and it just made me kind of like think about how I'm saying that things haven't changed. And the one main character is a black guy. He's a Muslim, and he's fighting a case against the prison and or all these things that are going on against discrimination and all that. And then he's having this discussion with a white guy who was a former lawyer, and he was in there for he killed somebody drinking and driving. And they're having this conversation, and he was like, and the white guy says to the black guy, he's like, I think you want to lose this case, because if you win, then what are you going to have to rage against anymore? And then he says that the black guy says to the white guy, he's like, well, it's kind of hypocritical, coming from you. Like the system, you're a lawyer, the system failed you. Like you're in here for, I mean, obviously, like he killed somebody, but they were a little bit excessive with his sentence. And he was like, unlike you, he's like, I deserve to be here. Like I still have faith in the system. I deserve to be here. I committed my crimes, you know, that's it. But he goes, but again, if you win, like, what do you have then? Because at that point, when you win the case, you proved your point. And then what? And then where are you? He spent his whole life fighting against the system. And then if he wins, what does he have?
And that goes like you need your villain. You need that reason to wake up every day.
Right. So I recommend people watching that show. It's a great show.
I don't remember if I feel like it was a big thing. So I definitely watched it, but it's interesting to go back and watch things that you watched when you were younger and see them as an adult with an adult perspective and understand it differently.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I rewatched The Sopranos, and that's still phenomenal. And that's another, Edie Falco was in Oz, Ernie Hudson.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Actually, Edie Falco had a pretty prominent role in it. And I think she left because they were starting The Sopranos.
I feel like Oz was like now we've got so many things to watch, but HBO was the thing back then. Like it was like, oh, there's HBO. Like what else was there? Showtime, HBO.
Yeah. Well, and again, so with Oz, I feel like that was probably one of their first original shows, because then it was like that. Then The Sopranos. I mean, The Sopranos really is what kind of like put them on the map.
Well, you know what I remember, and nobody ever remembers this show. You remember Dream On?
No.
But you watched it. Dream On was a 40-year-old divorcee who was. Remember when we were talking about this before? Remember when you used to watch like Real Sex?
Yeah.
This would be a show where when we were kids, we didn't pay attention to the substance because basically it was Californication, but made in 1989 or 91 or something. And what it was a kid who grew up watching too much TV, and now he's a 40-year-old divorcee, and his problem is like he has like a relationship problem, and he has to fuck all the time, and he keeps messing it up. And basically every episode was him, having some type of fucking kinky sex with somebody. But it was actually, if you go back and watch it, it's actually a pretty damn good show. It's called Dream On.
I was going to say, it sounds like me, except the kinky sex and the divorcee part.
Yeah. That's just called Keep Dreaming.
Yeah. But, so yeah, I guess that about sums up.
Yeah, well, it was fucking Friday, I guess. Yeah, man, I hope we can stop talking about it. Could you imagine that at one point in our lives with just COVID? I can't wait till we have to talk about it in a past tense.
Yeah. Well, we got some positive feedback on the last episode, but somebody was like, oh, more talking about eating ass. And I'm like, well, dude, there's COVID. I can't eat ass because I can't get a fucking date.
Yeah. We keep bringing it up at the end. Like we talk about like politics. And then at the end, we're like, yeah, we'll be back with some eating butt. Here it comes.
Yeah. Even though I don't do it anyway. So, but I'd like to try sometime.
It's cool. I didn't want to talk about cleaning my house and shit and fucking wearing a mask. You know what's so crazy about wearing a mask?
Yeah, because it's like, well, like you said last week, you're like, dude, I would love to talk about other shit, but what the fuck am I going to talk about?
Yeah, they got to give us. I mean, like everything's canceled. Christmas is canceled again. Everything's canceled.
You know what I think maybe we should do? Maybe we should do a movie review.
Yeah. Yo, I was listening to your girl. She actually had a good I didn't listen to the podcast, but she made a good statement. She said around this time of year, a lot of podcasters, famous people, they stop podcasting for like a month, and then they come back with their new season. So she said what most people do is they do a best of. So I guess they break up like the years of episodes and put their best of the year into it one episode. But then she made a great point. She's like, and I was going to do that. She's like, but it's 2020. Like, she's like, what is a best of? There's no such thing as a best of. But
what girl are you talking about? My girl.
What's the podcast that you like with the girl? Call me daddy. Call her daddy.
Oh, Call Her Daddy?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually haven't listened to it.
No, either did I. You know what happened? It just came on. Like, when you're listening to a podcast and like another one just comes on.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's right. I was like, yeah. It was funny as shit too, because she was like, her advertisement was for a dildo. So I'm just sitting there like listening to like Mark Levin podcast. And then right after it's over, all of a sudden in my ear, somebody I just heard, are you tired of, banging away on yourself? Like, it was a really raunchy dildo ad. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? What's on? Then I was like, oh shit, that's a podcast I used to listen to for a minute.
Maybe we should have Marcy on again to talk about
Yeah, we need a guest. It's time for another guest.
To have a dildo discussion.
Yeah. She was talking about fucking triple dildos, like a Nerf gun of dildos.
a Nerf gun dildo.
Yo, did you see that kid that the liberal Santa Claus said he couldn't get a gun? And then
I saw it.
Did you see like some sheriff or something like out of the town got him like a fucking Nerf machine gun, like gunned him up? You know what I mean?
I thought it was like a Santa Claus came to his house and delivered him like a Nerf gun or something like that.
Yeah, like because he was crying.
Because he was crying. Yeah.
How stupid is that though? Like, listen, I don't care if you're liberal. It sounds like I hate liberals, so I don't. But I hate that kind of liberal. Like, I hate if you're somebody. I'll tell you right now, if you are somebody who a little kid will say that they wanted a Nerf gun or something for Christmas, and you're dressed as Santa Claus in a mall, and it's not your child, and you tell him no, and then make him cry, and you're okay with that, I don't like you. You're a liberal that I do not like.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's no reason. Be like, okay, sure, we'll see what we can do.
Yeah, you're not getting him shit anyway.
Exactly. Like it's not like he asked for, plutonium or.
But that's even what make like think about the weirdness in that. Like, it's not your child. The mom clearly doesn't. You didn't make any impact on that kid's life. Like, it ain't like that 4-year-old walked away and was like, you know what? That fucking Santa Claus said a Nerf gun isn't a good thing for me, so I'm not going to do it. You made no significant impact on that child's life except for the fact that he's traumatized now because he's the first kid in the world that a mall Santa Claus told him he couldn't have something.
He's gonna grow up. It's like those horrible Christmas horror movies, like Killer Santa. Like, so now this kid's gonna be traumatized, and now he's gonna kill people. He's gonna go around shooting people as fucking Santa Claus.
He's old enough to choose whether he wants his dick cut off or not, but he's not old enough to ask for a Nerf gun.
Yeah, I'm sure if he asked him to have a reassignment surgery, she'd be like, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll bring it right away. Well, we can make that happen."
Hey, by the way, I'll have to find it. Maybe it just came to my mind that I meant to put it on here, but I seen one of them articles that we were talking about before that I said I know you're going to start seeing them. It was getting passed around. It was a guy who was a girl but made the decision when he was a child to become a girl. Mm-hmm. And now there's a big article about how he wished his parents never made that choice for him. Like, like a 20-year-old kid who's like, yeah, it's too late. My dick's gone.
I mean, it's just not, I don't know. Well, and not to keep, I guess, it's too late for that with the whole politics, but Tulsi Gabbard actually, she's governor of California, or not California, I'm sorry, Hawaii. She just proposed a bill that will prohibit transgender women into sports. Yeah. So obviously, if you're a man and you want to transition to a woman, you can't compete in women's. And you know, I'm sure that's not going to fly well with the rest of the Democrats. But I mean,
But
you
see,
know, it's funny.
this goes back to groups. Like, why can't someone, like, that's the thing that I hope she's not committing political suicide, because she, not only did she just recently do that, but you know, they love her on Parler. Like, Parler's huge conservative, whatever. But Tulsi Gabbard is constantly like reshared on there, and they love her because she also uh, posted out. She said, "For once, I can say I stand with Donald Trump 100% on this."
Yeah.
And she wants Trump to fucking repeal the 230.
Right.
So Trump keeps saying he keeps saying put it in the military defense bill to repeal 230, and she fucking came out and was like, I don't know if she did it on Twitter, but she did it on Parler, where she was like, I'll say flat out, I stand with Donald Trump 100% on this. And I was like, I stand with you, Tulsi. She looks like Storm from fucking X-Men.
From the, yeah. Well, like I was mentioning before, that Unity 2020 thing that I talked about, that Eric Weinstein or whatever, that was his brother or whatever, was trying to form a third party coalition. And it was censored and, you know, blocked. It was spearheaded. Somehow Tulsi Gabbard was involved with that, as well as Dan Crenshaw. And that was one thing. Her and Dan Crenshaw, they kind of have a little bit of a relationship. Like, she played around with some filter where she had a little eye patch on, like he does. And they mentioned, you know, when she first came to into politics and all, and she was like, you know, I made cupcakes or whatever and gave them out to people, you know, Republicans and Democrats, and she took shit from the Democrats for that. You know
like,
what I mean?
that's crazy.
Like, cause she's like, you know, it's people are so hardlined, and I'm sure Republicans are guilty as well, that no, you can't talk to that person. And that's kind of, you know, that's part of the reason why we are
but
in such a bad place now.
And I'll tell you something. This is the thing. We put all those people, all of them, in a position in our head that they don't belong. Because if we think that these people are on some top echelon, elitist, authoritative figures that we should just blindly obey, well, just think, dude. A woman comes in and makes cupcakes, and they're fighting with her. And what I'm trying to say is, forget the fact that they fought with her. What I like to do is, I try and imagine being in that room. And if you think about it, watching these elitist politicians bitching like 40-year-old housewives in some suburb about giving fucking cupcakes out to other kinds of people, you got to really think, like, somebody did that. That really happened.
Yeah. And those are the people that we elected to change the fucking world.
Yeah, like, come on, dude.
To enrich our lives.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, who knows,
COVID.
man?
The COVID spore.
Well,
you know, we had it already. I don't even know. I hate COVID. I hate politicians. I hate politics. I hate fucking waiting on relief bills, and I don't want to pay attention anymore. I want to go back to fucking just walking around and fucking being stupid. Ugh.
I want to get to a part where, you know, layman's terms is so successful that we can have, you know, I don't know, Joe Rogan on, or fucking.
Well, we'll never get there if they're gonna fucking censor us for being too sexy.
yeah. We're talking about aliens, and that's the sexual content.
Yeah. You know, I'll tell you one thing. I think that Apple is great, because I hope they don't change what they've done, because this podcasting thing is really cool. And it's like, you know, YouTube might do stuff to you, Facebook might do, but it really seems like Apple don't mess with you. Just think, if Apple was to put the hammer down, we'd be screwed. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it really seems like they don't do that, which is really cool because as long as it stays like that, there will always be, like, just think, dude, you can come on and you can voice your opinion. You can do it by yourself. And you could never get a fan. You could never be important. You might actually not really make any sense. You know, I'm being serious. Like any human being can just turn their computer on and talk into the microphone and put it up on Apple. And maybe nobody ever sees it. Maybe nobody ever hears it. Maybe they never get a fan. But it's cool to know you can. And I feel that's what Facebook and Google and Twitter and all are doing right now is like, you know, there's this empty feeling of like not knowing. It's not so much of knowing that you are or aren't getting attention or whatever, but knowing that there's a possibility that someone is intervening with the organic system is kind of scary. Or, you know, I guess if it's a business, they have the right to do it. But the fact that Apple doesn't want to interfere and allows anyone to do it is pretty cool.
So on that note, kids, follow your dreams.
Follow your dreams. Stay away from COVID. COVID is a dangerous creature. Open up your business, but stay away from COVID and pay attention to Tom Cruise because you're fired.
Get back to eating ass.
Yeah, we'll come back. We'll come back with some butt eating stuff. All right.
I'm talking to the American people. Go back to your lives. Go back to eating butt again. Make eating butt great again.
Yeah, that'd be a good T-shirt. Make eating ass great again.
There you go.
Read the books too. Tommy fuckers are talking to me about a book. What the fuck? I didn't know he read books. I wasn't.
I'm just bored, man. I don't know what
I was like, read a book.
Well, and again, you know, I'm telling you, for this book is fantastic. Like I said, it's very simple read. You know, especially when it comes to us and not using the biggest words and not having the biggest vocabularies. I'm going to tell you right now, this book is such an easy read, and it's very insightful. It's got some good advice in there. So check it out.
I haven't read a book since Everybody Poops.
That's a fucking classic.
It is. It's a really classic. Good one. It's a tough read though. Took me a couple nights, but
yeah, to really ingest that, taking all that knowledge.
Yeah. Oh, what's that in the bowl? Oh, wow. His looks like mine. I don't know. All right, Tom. I love you, man. Hey, guys, thanks a lot for listening. Remember, like and subscribe. Keep us alive, all right?